Hey guys, Teal. I am coming at you tonight with our ultimate tip for avoiding crowds at Disney World. So I've had a lot of fun with this series and I've kind of broken it down into some things that our family does to make it a little bit less stressful, doesn't make it seem as hectic that you're not around a lot of people and crowds at Disney. And specifically when I think about crowds at Disney, it's not so much, I mean, it is the pathways and getting through the park and things like that, but also lines. You think about big crowds, you think about long lines. So I want to talk a little bit about something that a lot of people still don't really know much about, even though it's been out for a while, and that is something called Fastpass Plus. You may be familiar with it, you may not. I'm not going to go too much in depth about what it is and the ins and outs. I have a great resource to kind of really break it down and explain it. I'm going to put that up on the blog. I'm just going to do a brief overview and then share some tips on how we use Fastpass Plus. It's hard to say. Fastpass Plus. Say it 10 times fast. Okay. How we use that to avoid the crowds at Disney. So I even saw some people on our last trip, trying to use it and not understanding it, or being in line and clearly they didn't understand that they could have used it. So it really helps to understand how it works. Basically, Fastpass Plus is Disney's reservation system where you can skip the lines on the rides. They allot you 3 per day per park. There's some rules in there, like after you use your 3rd, you can get a 4th. After you use that one, you can get a 5th, and so on. There's lots of little tips on how to maximize the system, but I want to share a few things that we do with Fastpass Plus. I'm going to have a hard time saying that. So maybe I should just call it FP Plus. So one thing that you can do with FP is if you have a child that is too short to ride a ride or doesn't want to ride a ride, you can use something called child swap or rider swap. And that is a way that Disney will let you skip the line. So some of your party goes in the line minus the child that doesn't want to go or can't go. And then they will give you an FP to use later on that ride for the rest of your party. So it's a great way to kind of skip the line so people don't have to wait in line 2 times. You can really just wait once. So that I want to tie that in because that's a great tip as well. But in terms of utilizing FP and how you can really make the most of it, definitely recommend making your selections in advance. There's some rules on how far out you can make those FP reservations. I will put a resource up on the blog, like I said, to kind of explain the ins and outs. But you definitely want to make reservations, and specifically for the rides or attractions that are more popular because they will book up with the FPs. So be sure that you make those. Even if you think you might change your mind later, go ahead and get some reservations in there because you just never know. You don't want to miss your chance to get on there early and make those reservations. Another thing that we do is I've talked before about the importance of arriving early at the park. And the way that works is when you arrive early, you have about an hour to an hour and a half to really get some of the big things in that tend to have longer lines later. So we will purposely stack our FP reservations around the 10:30 a.m. mark. We'll do 10:30, 11:30, 12:30 or so about. It may not work out quite that perfectly, but if you can kind of get them back to back in that area, you'll get an hour window to ride each ride. And that's about the time that the crowds really start to pick up. And the reason we like to stack them around that time is because we can start using them and obviously not have to wait. We can usually squeeze in a lunch or something or a snack if we need to. And then after we finish our 3rd one, we can get a 4th. And after we finish our 4th one, we can get a 5th. And we can go on and on as long as we need to that way. So as long as you're getting there early, you can utilize getting more done earlier than in the day and using your Fastpass during that kind of mid-morning hour. That's really what I recommend if you want to be able to get the most FPs for the rest of the day. Another thing is don't waste a Fastpass. Now, your family may not care about riding, roller coasters or anything that's really popular, and that's totally fine. by all means schedule whatever you like for your FP reservations, but don't waste one on a ride that typically has a shorter line. I'll post a link to a list of the rides that you definitely do want an FP reservation for, but don't waste it on something that you're probably going to be able to walk on for anyway. You want to go ahead and book it for something that is popular that you might not be able to get, because like I said, it's gonna book up. We have something that our family just kind of calls the 15-minute rule, and so as you go up to a ride at Disney will post the wait times above the entrance, and they'll post the standby line, which is the normal everyday everybody line, and then they'll post the FP line with the window that you can return if you have that return window on that. But the standby line, they will post a wait time, and if it's 15 minutes or less, we will not use a Fastpass for that ride. So we will go into the app, it's connected to an app, we will go into our app on our phone right then and there and change that FP for something else. And we will wait 15 minutes because I think that's a very reasonable amount of time. Not a big deal. Most of the ride lines are interactive anyway, so to kill 10 to 15 minutes in a line, not a big deal for us. So that's kind of our family's little unwritten rule. We call it the 15-minute rule. Another final thing I would suggest is do not waste your FP reservations on parades or fireworks. I'll make one exception to that, but parades, there's plenty of spaces in the park to view the parade. I really would not waste one on that. If you want to see the parade, you can see the parade. Fireworks, there is an advantage if you do use the FP for fireworks in that you tend to get a great viewing spot. They only allow a certain number of people in the area, so you might not be right up against somebody. That's a good thing about it. The bad thing is that it ties you up with your FP reservations for the rest of the day. You will not be able to get more than 3, most likely, because you'll be using your third one on the fireworks. And usually by the time that's over, the system has exhausted the rest of the FPs for the rest of the day, and there's probably nothing available. So unless you just really want that awesome spot for the fireworks, you can see fireworks from pretty much anywhere. I don't really think it's worth an FP. So okay, those were just my quick tips, and I really just wanted to wrap up this whole series on this because I think Fastpass Plus is really one of the best things that Disney has ever done, because they did us all a favor by offering us a free service to help us avoid the lines, which is pretty awesome, and we don't have to pay for it. I know other parks make you pay for something like this, so it's just a great extra perk that's available to anybody that goes, whether you're staying on site, off site. It's just a great thing. So I wanted to be sure and end my series on this note because I feel like it's such an important tool. But I hope these tips have been helpful to you, and if you have some ideas, if you have some suggestions on any other topics you want me to cover, Disney or other, leave me a comment and let me know. I've really enjoyed doing this, and I'm happy to help other people, and I love hearing about others planning their vacations. Thanks for watching.